All right, great. Well, hi, everybody. My name's Stephanie Mojica. It's great that so many folks have come out. So, this is called Three Shareable Secrets to Writing Copy, also known as Three Secrets to Writing Copy to Get the Attention of Your Ideal Clients. So, I just want to start with a story. Even the smartest, most professionally accomplished people struggle with effective copywriting for their businesses. I'll tell you about a client of mine named Debbie. She came to me because her gourmet desserts website wasn't bringing enough orders. And when she talked to me, she told me she felt scared, frustrated, and confused. You see, Debbie had an MBA and she felt she should be able to write and edit her own website, especially since she was just selling desserts. So she didn't think it was all that complicated. And she was really getting frustrated because she had these delicious looking desserts like Kentucky bourbon balls, brownie bites, all sorts of things. And the orders just weren't coming in. So I took a look at her website with her and I explained there were a number of things missing and a few quick ways to increase her sales. I helped her understand that the time she wasted in frustration trying to write and edit the words on her website was time she could spend on aspects of her business that she felt good at, like creating delicious new desserts. Or she could even spend time doing something for her personal life, like going to the gym or studying a foreign language. And I had to just be kindly honest with her. There was a reason she wasn't getting the sales she wanted. So what happened was within 3 months of my rewriting the existing content on her website and writing new product descriptions for her, and I also created a high quality monthly newsletter template for her, Debbie was getting 3 times more orders than she was before. So I guess this was maybe 10 years ago. And I thought, well, if I, a professional writer, have an easier time writing for other people's businesses than my own, which I think any creative person can identify with that. It's so much easier in my experience and the experience of the people I've worked with to like do the work for other people. So I thought, okay, I'm a professional writer. It's easier for me to write for other people's businesses than my own. So people like Debbie who aren't professional writers are probably having a hard time writing for their businesses. And I know how to help them and been doing it for years. So that's when it hit me. Otherwise, smart, successful people are leaving thousands, and in the case of big businesses, sometimes millions of dollars on the table by trying to do everything themselves. So I'm a lot older than I look. I've worked with a lot of people over the last 24 years, and they feel like Debbie. They're great in their fields. Many of them even have advanced degrees, including some JDs, MDs, and PhDs. And they feel with enough determination they can magically make the right words appear on their websites, in their newsletters, or in their books. But what I'm here to talk about today is their specific recipes for writing to sell versus writing for academia or general business. And usually it takes a person with decades of copywriting specific experience and education and that objective eye to create the words that sell or teach an entrepreneur to learn how to do so for themselves. So now what I do is I help business owners write their website, social media, and email copy so they can make more money. I also coach them on how to get more clients through other means, such as networking and writing books. So, what we'll cover tonight, I guess everybody's tonight, I'm just going to assume that how to immediately transform your copywriting so you can get your ideal client's attention now, because you probably wanted them yesterday. The most common mistake most business owners make when copywriting and how you can avoid it, and some quick and easy tips to make your copy visually appealing without needing to hire a graphic designer. So, have this is in the description. Have you ever woken up at 2 a.m.? You know, I'm talking about worried about money because the copy you work so hard to write just isn't convincing people to buy your products or services. At the same time, you don't want to come across as pushy, salesy, or manipulative in your marketing. I mean, we've all seen those ads that promise the sun, the moon, the stars for like the low price of, $50 and just don't deliver. So the good news is there's a way to consistently write copy that gets the right kind of attention from your ideal clients without sacrificing your integrity. So, are you ready to make more money online with writing and messaging that has you stand out, get noticed, and attract clients? So we have about 30 minutes today for me to talk and about 20 minutes of Q&A time. And what I intend to do is give you as much information as I possibly can. That's what I enjoy doing. But I can't teach you everything. But don't worry, I won't leave you hanging. I'll show you how you can get the rest of the information you might need at the end of this talk. So if we could go to secret one on the PowerPoint. All right, cool, thanks. So don't focus on the features of your offer. So have you ever had someone ask you, what exactly is it that you do? That happens to me sometimes. And I'm talking about someone you know or have talked to about your business. This question is pretty common because entrepreneurs, creatives, other folks tend to focus on the features of their offer, such as you'll get 4 group coaching calls a month, each of which is approximately 2 hours long. You'll get a 30-minute one-on-one coaching session each month. You'll be part of a private Facebook group just for members of the Get Your Book Done Now mastermind group. So that's sounds pretty boring, doesn't it? So that's a pretty common mistake, and I've been guilty of it myself in the past. So another common mistake is being vague about the results that you offer. So I'll talk about some examples of vague copy. You'll feel great after going through my coaching program. Your life will be so much better after hiring me to design your website. You'll feel more grounded and calm after receiving my Reiki service. Note that these also use the words my or me too much, which I'm going to talk about later. So I'm going to give you an example now of words that sell. During your Plan Your Awesome Book VIP Day, we will create a crystal clear vision for the book you want to write, including a title, an approximate word count, a sketch of your chapters and their titles. We'll uncover hidden challenges that may sabotage your ability to write and publish your awesome book, and we'll craft a writing schedule and deadline for your first draft to be ready for editing. So you can put it in the chat. Who thinks that sounds a lot more clearly? Great, thanks, Drea. All right. So if you remember just one thing from this part, it should be to focus on results rather than features. Sorry. So let's take just a minute to think about this, and I'll drop this question in the chat. Can you remember a time you bought something because you felt the writer was inside of your head, that they really understood the result you were looking for? What stood out to you when you read the offer? So you can drop your responses into chat, and I'm going to put that in here now. So we'll take a minute to think about that. Good, good. Can you folks think of a time you didn't buy something that might have sounded interesting and why maybe you didn't buy it, besides the you really didn't have the money? Okay, good. All right, excellent. Yes, that's a big one. All right, we can keep dropping those in the chat, and we'll go to secret number 2. Are we ready to put that on the screen? Cool. So make sure your copy is visually friendly. So have you ever thought, gosh, well, we have a lot of graphic designers here, but I'm not one. So have you ever thought, gosh, I'm not a graphic designer and I can't really afford to hire one as often as I'd like? Well, the good news is you can do a lot on your own to make your copy visually friendly. I can't tell you how often I see long blocks of text without graphics, sentences that are too long, and font sizes that are too small or unusual to be easily read. So in this day and age, as I'm sure so many of us here know, inclusion and accessibility is more important than ever. Remember, people have various levels of ability. So even if your sentences and paragraphs are short, your font and size choices may render your work inaccessible. So I'm gonna go over a few good rules of thumb. Keep your paragraphs 2 to 4 sentences long whenever possible, especially since so many people are reading on their mobile phones right now. What might seem like a short paragraph on a computer can be like a wall on a mobile phone. So just remember, we're in a more mobile friendly society. Use bullet points, especially when you're discussing things in a group. Each page of text should have at least one graphic. Use a minimum 12-point font. I like to use 14, but 12 is definitely the minimum. And then for your main text, if you're not working with a graphic designer, stick with the tried and true font classics like Times New Roman, Arial, Calibri, Cambria, and Helvetica. So it's always a good idea to have a few people look at your text to make sure it's easy to read. So we're going to take a quick break on this. I'd like to send everyone on this call my complimentary ebook, which is called 3 Little Known Secrets to Create Words That Sell, which reemphasizes the very things we're talking about tonight. So if you want to drop your email address in the chat, I'll send it to you, as well as occasional articles about how to make more money in your business. So I know I said we're going to go to Q&A in a little bit, but I'm wondering, does anybody have any questions about anything I just covered? Okay. Well, then we'll go to secret number 3. Oh, what? Yeah, we just did that. Okay, sorry. All right, so secret number 3, write using a you focus. So you're probably here either because you really love the or you're not getting enough sales. And the reason you might not be getting enough sales is your potential customers don't feel connected. They're unclear about whether you really understand their problem and are committed to helping them solve it. That's another thing. So many of us have like 50 problems. And I see this in copy all the time where somebody tries to say they're going to solve like 50 problems with one product or service. I was told by a mentor of mine many years ago, her name's Allie Brown, that a confused mind says no. So what I try to do is focus on one result. I mean, there's going to be some other results, but try to focus on one result instead of like, say, I'm going to solve your problems with videos, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, your website, your grandmother's, niece with one product. That just doesn't work. So a confused mind says no. And I can't tell you how many sales pages have confused me. I see where all the entrepreneur talks about is why they are the best in the field, and they don't give any concrete steps or examples as to how they can help solve a problem. A simple solution to this is don't use I so much. So my rule is to use you or your at least twice as much as you use I, my, and mine. So here's a short example of what I'm talking about. When you invest in a Create Words That Sell group coaching program, you'll learn 9 specific ways to increase the number of people who say yes to your product or service. And just by keeping the focus on you and your can immediately increase the number of people who are interested in what you have to offer. So remember how I mentioned that I would tell you how you could work with me further? I'd like to tell you about that now. So I'd like to offer some seats in my upcoming virtual workshop, How to Get New Clients in 30 Days Without Complicated Sales Funnels or Expensive Ads. Normally this workshop is $67, but because you've taken the time to be here, and believe me, we're not close to done yet. We're gonna go to Q&A in a little bit. I'd like to offer it to you for $27. So I'm gonna tell you another story about somebody I worked with. So his name is Jonathan. He was a really well, he still is. He's a really hard working transcriptionist with over 25 years of experience and a master's degree. So most of Jonathan's clients were doctors, but I don't know if people remember HIPAA when this happened about 13 years ago, but HIPAA, changes in medical privacy laws basically caused his business to evaporate. He lost 80% of his business overnight, which is really sad. So Jonathan tried to find some new people to work with. He decided to work with some authors, which worked for a while until technology came in. Automated transcription software was invented. So that really put his business in a bind again. So as a result, more and more people were willing to take the chance of looking a little foolish by relying on software instead of traditional transcription just to save some money. So when Jonathan came to me, he was making about $400 a month. I mean, seriously, he was really depressed about it. He was pretty much living off of credit cards and he was struggling to pay his rent. Fortunately, he was living in a place where he was paying about 300 a month rent, but he wasn't doing much else. And he couldn't even go to a movie or do anything for his girlfriend. And he was scared that she was going to wind up breaking up with him. And he was about to throw in the towel and go get a warehouse or substitute teaching job, which I know him pretty well. That pretty much would have been hell for him. So I convinced him to give me a chance as his copywriter and marketing coach. So the first thing we had to do was figure out, okay, what's going wrong here? So as Drea mentioned, I've been around multiple industries for 24 years. And I've done a lot of copywriting and editing for attorneys. I was talking about before to call my experience studying the law. So I knew that most attorneys absolutely do not want to look foolish. Some of them will use the automated software and hire someone to edit the transcript, but many attorneys would rather have a human being get their transcription correct from the start. So, what I told Jonathan to do was to talk to attorneys, especially attorneys who like to have conferences and other live events. And second, the problem was Jonathan wasn't using a lot of you language in his client introduction letters. Again, it's different from applying for a job. He was like, I have 25 years of experience, this, and this. And I wrote about this on LinkedIn recently. It's really different when you're trying to get a client from trying to get a job. And that's one of the things we'll talk about in the workshop. So he was like acting like he was applying for a job, but it just wasn't working for him. And then third, he just didn't have any real web presence. He wasn't even doing anything on Facebook. So what I did was I wrote him a one-page website and a client introduction letter. So within 2 weeks, his revenue went from 400 a month to 1800 a month. He was pretty darn happy. Well, within 2 months, his revenue went to $5,000 a month and sometimes more, where it stayed for 5 years. And Jonathan is still using the same one page website and client introduction letter to add new clients to his business as needed. But like, so many people I run into, Jonathan thought he didn't have the time or the money to hire a copywriter and marketing coach. He thought as a professional writer with a master's degree, he's also a widely published poet and playwright. He should naturally have the ability to write the words itself. So I want to talk to you about three important steps that Jonathan followed to go from basically not even surviving at 400 a month to prospering at over $5,000 a month. So I'm going to take a sip of water. So the first thing Jonathan did was he acknowledged that all of his copywriting and marketing efforts, while well intended, weren't working at all. That was a hard pill for him to swallow. It really was. And two, I mean, one day we were in a writing class together. He just had a conversation with me, and I gave him a deeply discounted rate. He was like, "Okay, I'm going to pull out my credit card just one last time before giving up to take a job I know I'm going to hate." And he decided to trust my process. So Jonathan published the one-page website I did, used a client introduction letter, and to this day reaps all the benefits of working with a professional to move his business and his life forward. So if you're not generating the revenue you want right now, whether you're a coach, another writer, an editor, a transcriptionist, any service-based business, I hope that Jonathan's story shows you that there is hope and a path forward. Over the years, I've just met so many people that have a lot of great ideas and many talents, and they never get to where they want to go in their businesses. So, according to my clients like Debbie and Jonathan, and then there's so many more, and their successes, you need the right strategies and the right guide along the way. Trying to do it by yourself is hard and sets you up for failure. I've done it so many times. And each time you fail, you lose more and more confidence in yourself to try again. That's why I want to offer you my proven method on how to get new clients in 30 days at a low investment. And I'll put some of this in the chat in a minute. So during our 90 minutes together, you'll discover how I generated $8,000 of new business in 30 days without a marketing budget. The fastest way to get new clients, even if you don't currently have a website. How to make the most of virtual networking events and one on one meetings, and why most people are doing them wrong. Specific steps you can take to turn old clients, former coworkers, high school friends, distant family members, and the like into your strongest business advocates. The key language on what to say and how to say it so your ideal clients say, "Yes, I'm excited to work with you." And we all know how great that feels. So this virtual workshop, which will be recorded, will be held on Zoom from 5 to 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time on Thursday, February 25th. And the reason I'm doing this is I love talking to people like you who come out to join me in this program tonight. It helps me learn more about you and how I can really serve you. So to save your seat, click on the link in the chat that I'm going to put in just a second, and you can pay securely with your credit card or PayPal account. I want to end this by saying this is only good until tomorrow at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. After that, the investment will go back to $67. So you may think you don't have enough time to attend or watch this workshop, but how much time do you spend watching Netflix or trying different things to get new clients? And those things just don't work. So you'll leave this workshop with concrete action steps you can take to improve your copywriting, marketing, and sales, which will ultimately make you more money. And isn't that better than another night of takeout and Netflix? So again, how to get new clients in 30 days without complicated sales funnels or expensive ads is a 90-minute virtual workshop, and it'll be held Thursday, February 25th from 5 to 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time. You'll also get lifetime access to the recording, and you can watch it at your convenience. And like I said, the investment is usually 67, but because you're here today, it'll be only 27. But that special is only good until tomorrow at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. So I'm going to put that in the chat, and let's go into some Q&A. What questions do people have about copywriting?
Thank you, Stephanie. That was awesome.
Thank
We've
you.
got questions.
Thank you.
Anybody? So I definitely have a question. Oh, wait, Michelle has a question. Okay. Can you talk about strategies for copywriting when you have potential customers who are at different levels of understanding than their needs?
Okay, I will try to answer that question. I might need to ask for some elaboration. So basically, when I start working with a new client, I have 29 branding questions I'd like to ask them. And I have a copywriting mentor, and yeah, we created these questions. So it's 29 branding questions because a lot of people who come to copywriters, they don't know their unique selling proposition, their USP, like why me, instead of somebody else down the street. So we get really clear on where they are, where they want to go, and basically who's their ideal client. I think that another thing that I've run into is people don't know who their ideal customer is. Like, you can't just, well, for something like Netflix, you could say everybody, but that's like an exception. For especially for business to business, B2B, or business to consumer, it's important to like write with a specific what they call avatar in mind. Like, so depending on the project, we'll get really clear. Is this person male, female, non-binary? What's this person's age? What's this person's education? And a lot of people are scared to write to a specific audience because they think it's going to eliminate people. But I can tell you from my experience and the experience of my mentors that if you write to a specific person, you're like, for example, my business coach, she like writes, markets to women, but she still has some male clients, but she has a largely female client base. So, okay, she put in a clarification. When a client may be clueless or may know a lot or may be in between. Okay, so can you unmute and ask,
Sure.
like,
So
giving more
I have,
clarification?
so I'm a trademark attorney, and
Okay,
some of the people who end up on my website already know that they want to register their trademark. Some
okay,
people who come to my website aren't really sure what a trademark is or what they want to do. And some people are sort of in between, like they know a little bit, but they don't really know everything. And
okay.
it's hard to meet them where they are when, just can you talk a little bit about that, about how to write copy effectively when you don't know how much the other person knows about their own needs?
Okay, yes, that's helpful. For most things, and this is something that my copyright mentor and I have worked on, would assume that they don't know about the product or service if you're have a general audience. There's a editor called Hemingway editor. And for most people, it needs to be like an 8th or ninth grade reading level. So some, well, for my audiences, it can be a little higher, but usually you want like a 7th to ninth grade reading level. And you don't want to, I don't want to make it sound like I'm saying to talk down to them. I'm not. It's just a lot of folks, and I think people like you and I who have advanced education can run into this. Sometimes we can use like words and phrases that people aren't going to understand. So I think like just assume that they know very little about it unless you're coming up with something advanced. And I don't know if you have a blog system or anything like that, but you might want to blog or put some frequently asked questions, do some things to like help educate them a little. Okay, somebody, let's see.
Nellie has a question. How do you
Okay,
balance too salesy and not enough?
that's a great question. It's hard to find a balance. I'm not gonna sit here and lie to you. I think like I think a lot of times testimonials are gonna be your best like advocates, like because you're not coming out. I mean, yes, you want to come out and be direct and say, please buy this, in the language of your copywriter's choice. At the same time, you don't want to sound like you're the you think you're the best person in the world. So any testimonials you have, even if they're just something about you being like great at what you do, are going to help. Um, I think when you have a specific call to action, which I mean, pretty much earlier, I put a couple of calls to action in my talk. When you have a specific call to action, I don't think it's not enough. I have seen a lot of people who write blogs and stuff thinking that business is just going to show up from the blog, but they're not asking for anything. They're just putting the blog up there. So I think if you use testimonials as much as possible, you'll overcome the too salesy problem, and then just have a specific call to action. It's not always about, having them purchase your product or service. It might be getting them on your list or sharing your post. So I hope that's helpful.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciated that answer a lot. Ariel has a question. I apologize. Oh, she jumped in late, but still happy to have you here. Thanks for joining. When writing copy, do you think it's more important to write in your brand voice or write in a way that you think your intended audience wants to hear? I.e., if my brand voice is more casual, but I'm targeting a more corporate type of client, how do you stay true to yourself?
That's an awesome question. I think it's important to do both. I think it's important to write in your brand voice or basically offer what makes you unique. But I think it's also important to kind of get inside your intended audience's minds. Like, they don't really, I've heard this a lot before, they don't really care about the process or the features as much as they care about the results. I just think that's human nature. So I think, again, just things like making sure that the language is appropriate for the audience, making, whether you use the Hemingway editor or something else, just making sure it's appropriate for your audience and also reflects how you are unique.
Yeah, authenticity is definitely key. There's a follow-up question from Yali. How effective are case studies?
I'll be honest with you, I've written case studies for people. And I've actually talked to my business coach about this recently because somebody had asked me if I had case studies for my class. Um, it depends on what industry you're in. I think like they can take a long time to make. I think testimonials can be more helpful for most industries, but it depends. If you're doing something really corporate, then you probably do need case studies, but that's just unfortunately not a huge area of expertise of mine.
Mm. Ozzy's question, do you have some more advice for writing copy that is inclusive and accessible? I love the suggestions about readability and using the correct size typeface. What about the content itself? Thank you for that and for bringing this vital subject into the presentation.
So yes, I think the content itself, again, my mentor and I used the Hemingway editor because another reason you need to have like a 7th to 9th grade reading level, depending on your audience, is some people, English is not their native language. And it's just important to make sure you're not using a lot of complicated words. Um, I mean, for anyone. So I just think it's just important, again, like I was, talking to Michelle earlier, just, I don't want to sound like I'm saying assume that everybody's, not knowledgeable about something, but I would just assume, like middle, high school reading level, and just try to explain things when you need to. But yes, the Hemingway editor will definitely help.
Yeah, I learned that in journalism. It's got to be an 8th grade level just so that everyone can comprehend it and you don't use those $10 words, right? You got to,
Right, exactly.
yeah, you got to keep it low key. I have a question actually from Slack that I wanted to extend your way. It's from Jesse, a new co-member, and Jesse is a freelance writer and looking to be more consistent and grow both personally and professionally. And since you're a seasoned copywriter, I felt like this would be a good question for you.
Okay.
So, Jesse would love to work as a content writer or copywriter, do something in the publishing industry, like work as an editorial assistant. Do you have any ideas for junior copywriters that are trying to get themselves out there?
Well, I used to actually teach about this quite a bit years ago. So, I mean, basically, I don't know I guess she uses a she pronoun. I I don't know like if she's in college or recently graduated from college, but like internships were really helpful for me. Volunteer opportunities, like when I was still in high school, I was actually copywriting for the Habitat for Humanity in my city. So things like that. I'm not a big proponent of doing a lot of work for no pay, but I think like when you're at the beginning of your career, there's ways to do it where you're not getting exploited, like going and giving back to the community, like a nonprofit through, they always need copywriting, grant writing, PR people, and you get some samples. If you're a student, there are internships that are extremely helpful and don't exploit people. If that doesn't really apply to you, there are a lot of copywriting classes, and I can connect with you and let you know about some things that my mentor, Alex Catoni, she's a awesome copywriter and copywriting teacher. And she always has classes where for like beginners, after you do like the portfolio that she teaches, she will introduce you to some clients.
Mm.
So there's things like that you can do. But I think obviously if you don't have a lot of money to invest, it would be good to just go get in with a nonprofit. And even with COVID going on, there's still things you could do remotely.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, we take on junior copywriters on TEDx Asbury Park all the time. It's a good opportunity. I have a question about captions. So I'm writing captions all the time for all the different social media platforms, and they vary wildly, like from platform to platform. Like you have to write something different for every single one. So what do you suggest with like best captions for Instagram, best captions for Facebook, best captions for Twitter and LinkedIn? Like what do you suggest? Because it's a lot. It's a lot of writing.
It is a lot of writing, and I've done it for myself and done it for other people. I'll be honest, I mean, you're not really supposed to do this, but I do like post a lot of the same stuff across, multiple platforms. Twitter is a whole nother animal because you have that character limit.
Hmm.
So really, I have to write a separate thing for Twitter and then separate for Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. Um, so yeah, I find that LinkedIn articles are actually more helpful than LinkedIn posts as far as drawing people. And I also find that I'll give you a Facebook tip. You may already notice Facebook business pages are not really getting any visibility anymore without paid ads. You're not supposed to do it, but I do it on my personal page and have not gotten in trouble. And I also have a Facebook business group.
Okay.
You
So,
you you like you make a group for your business, and then you post a. I mean, you still post it to your business page because if somebody goes and looks,
mhm.
then you want, but it's really not getting any engagement. Facebook has really changed a lot of things in the past year or so.
Yeah, I
So
noticed that too. Yeah, the engagement is
they
almost.
really want you to buy ads, and I don't recommend doing that unless you really know what you're doing. And I don't consider myself a Facebook ads expert. But for Instagram, I think from what I'm hearing, Instagram and LinkedIn is really where it's at right now. So I think for Instagram, you have to have a photo. You always have to have a photo on Instagram. So technically, you probably need to write three or four different ones. So I just make it engaging. You know, asking questions can be really good. Just don't ghost it. Like, don't ask the question and then ignore all the answers because I've seen people doing that. So, like, ask a question, just like keep a you focus. Um, yeah, just there's just a lot of different things you can do with social media. I know we have a couple of people on this call who do more social media than I do, like Catherine Miles. So,
Yelly has a question. I love this coaching people on how to write copy visually without a copywriter. Is there a resource or a visual for this somewhere?
yes, I have that and I can send it to you. It's basically in my little, oh, yeah, in my ebook that I mentioned earlier.
Ooh,
Three
okay,
little
great.
known secrets to create words that sell. I have it like spelled out.
Nice. Yeah, because I've always read that people scan now and it's got to have
They do.
scannability. And as long as people can scan it, then they will go through the whole thing. But if you can't scan it visually, they won't even get to the bottom. They'll just like click out because it's too much content.
Yeah, I was looking up actually some statistics earlier because I was thinking about giving you folks some statistics, and but I was already nervous enough, and so yeah, I didn't want to just like drown everybody's statistics. But what I read, I think it was from Business Insider. They're only reading maybe 20% of what you're writing, maybe.
Wow.
So that's why long form copy, there's always a debate whether you need to use short or long form copy for sales pages. That's why long form copy is still converting better because people aren't reading all of it. They're just, so if you have short copy, then they're only reading, like Michelle said, 5 words at a time. Yeah.
Wow.
So everything just changes every day.
So what's the biggest challenge for copywriters?
I'll be honest, the biggest challenge for copywriters is entrepreneurs who really don't know what results they want.
Okay, so those are the hardest clients to take on.
I'll just, yeah, they say, I want you to write me something. I want to make $10,000 like yesterday. I'm like, okay, well, I asked them the branded questions, and there have been some people, bless their souls, I'm really not trying to be negative,
Mhm.
who honestly don't know. They
Yeah.
don't know. It's like maybe they're in business because they inherited it or something happened. So
Mm,
yeah, I think it's just important to get clear. And you don't have to know all the answers. I mean, I don't know all the answers. My business is ever evolving because I'm good at so many things. I mean, so, but really knowing what you want, because a copywriter, even the best copywriter in the world, I'm not going to sit here and say that I'm one of them. Um, I am a great copywriter, but I'm not going to say I'm, the best. I'm not like Dan Kennedy or, all those, famous people. But nobody can do anything if you don't know what you want.
yeah, yeah, I find the same thing with graphic design too. When someone has a clear vision, it's easier to execute than guessing the whole time.
Mm.
I think that's the hardest part about creating a logo without knowing anything.
Yes,
Like, just create it. And I'm like, that's going to be 100 revisions because you
right.
have no idea. Yeah, it's really
Oh,
frustrating.
I'm sure I've been guilty of that myself when Yellow and Ozzy were doing my stuff. But it's like, you know, um, yes, Michelle said people need to take time to reflect on their own businesses. And the thing is, sometimes talking to another person is like how people process. But then I run to people who don't want to invest the time or financial resources into getting into that. So
Right.
I just find people getting their own way can be like a huge problem. Huge.
Yeah.
God, God, goddess, higher power, whatever you call it, bless their souls. But most people I work with, they have some idea. They just need a little guidance. But there
Yeah,
are
that's
people.
good. So what do you like most about being a copywriter? What passion, like what fuels this passion for writing?
I mean, I've been writing ever since I was a little kid. Like I said before the call, I'm a lot better with writing than talking in groups, except when doing things like this. But I like telling people stories.
Mm,
A lot of people, I was a journalist for years. A lot of people I work with have like incredible stories. They have great reasons they're in business. And I feel like it's my job to tell their story and in the way that gets them the most clients. Because a lot of people I work with also earn money.
mhm.
I mean, so they really want to help people.
Yeah,
So,
exactly. Yeah, you're helping them help more people. So it definitely has that really positive domino effect, and it comes back around, which I think is really cool. So, do you have a favorite style of writing?
like that I like to do or I like to read or
So the type of writing that you like to write, like what type of style writing do you like, just on your own time? Like, not for your clients or anything, but like, do you have a style that you just like?
I used to do a lot more stuff for myself, nonfiction and poetry.
Ooh,
Dabbled with playwriting and screenwriting, but these days I really don't have much time to write for myself. And sometimes that's why I'm trying to move a little more into the coaching and the teaching because it's very labor intensive writing. It's just, and I don't have much time for anything else. Like, I would like to publish another book myself because I
mhm.
spend a lot of time helping other people edit theirs or get theirs written. So, yeah, but poetry and nonfiction, especially like shorter form nonfiction.
Cool. Ozzy has a question. What is your
Sure.
point of view on getting creative with copy, changing cases, adding extra punctuation, or playing with tabulation, for example?
I can be a bit of a purist about this. I think it's because of my journalistic and legal background. I am getting better. Like I said, Alex Cotoni is my awesome copywriting mentor, and she and some other people I've worked with are big on adding extra punctuation. Like, for example, using ellipses For those who don't know, I just put in the chat instead of like, semicolons. And because some people hate semicolons. And I am not crazy about extra punctuation. Change in cases, I understand that, especially like some people that start identity. Like I know people who use all lowercase for their names. They like to use lowercase I. I totally respect that. I am very open to it. In my own writing, though, I'm kind of a purist. So playing with tabulation, what do you mean by that, Ozzy? Can you elaborate? Yes, Kendra, I'm very much about that Oxford comment.
Sure. I was just thinking about when people play with the alignment of different paragraphs or sentences just to highlight certain areas. I know that it's usually done with quotes where you expand the tabulation of a quote but I have noticed people do it not only with quotes, but also with sections of text that they want to highlight, or sometimes they even change the justification and they don't use justification left all the time.
So I'll be honest. Sorry, yeah, I thought you were done. Go ahead.
Oh no, I'm done. Please go ahead.
Okay, I think the internet froze. So the thing with the quotes, I'm totally, cool with it. Obviously, whatever the client wants, the client is going to get. But I'm just not into doing crazy things with like justifying left in one section or justifying right in another. I do use bold and italics, as appropriate. So, but I'm not really crazy about it, about doing
What do you
crazy
consider an
justification.
appropriate use of bold and italics?
I think like, for example, if you want to highlight, like, let's see, I can give you an example. Like, if you look at my sales page that I just put in the chat, let's see, I'm not a co-host, so I can't share it. But when you look at, you'll see that in some areas I have it like bolded, like a benefit. For example, let's see, I bolded the name of the virtual workshop. Oh, okay, I can share the screen. Now, hold on a second. Let me do that. All right, can everybody see this?
Not yet.
Oh, you don't see it?
It says Stephanie has started screen sharing. Oh, here we go. I can see it.
Okay. So you see right here, I put this in bold. That's the name of the workshop. And I'm emphasizing that it's a virtual workshop, just in case somebody doesn't understand. And then I just started bolding some of these different benefits, like the fastest way to get new clients, virtual networking events and one-on-one meetings, kind of trying to draw their eyes, because again, people aren't reading every word I write, strongest business advocates, the key language on what to say, how to say it. This is just your standard heading. So you can do things like that. Things that, like right here. So do you want simple steps you can take right away to add 1, 2, 3, or even 4 new clients to your business in the next 30 days? So I think you could just bold and italic things that you want to make sure people read, because their eyes are naturally going to go more toward it. Okay, Michelle has a question. How hard is it for you to put on someone else's voice? It's not really that much of a struggle for me. I was a journalist, so I'm used to telling other people's stories. Somebody with a different background might struggle more. That's why I just think it's important. I know Yale calls it a discovery call. I call it like, a branding or intake session. Just, it's really important to ask those questions and really get to know what that person's about.
Yeah, the same thing happens when you're writing a nonfiction or fiction, like you do. When you get into
Right.
that character's head and you start writing like the character, that's the same like thought process for like me. That's the way I think of it. Like I'm writing like I'm that character.
Right. Do we have any more questions?
I don't think so. This was super informative. I'm really thankful of you taking your time to explain all of this to us. And anybody that has
Thank you.
copywriting projects, please check out Stephanie's website. The link is right there. Oh, and then also that's the In Creative Co. Link too. Thanks for putting that in there, Stephanie.
Yeah, that's for the special.
And take advantage of that special. It's a really great opportunity for all of us. I know I'll probably go. Just need to check my calendar, but most likely, like I'll be there because that kind of a in-depth workshop is just so crucial for fine-tuning our own voices,
Right.
making it
Exactly.
stronger, being authentic to who we are. I mean, I'm
Right.
writing all the time without even
Right.
thinking about it much, like emails.
Right.
When you write an effective email, you're going to get a better response. You're going to get a quicker response. They're going to look forward to that next email. Those are the things that I really take into consideration, and I hope you do too. I really appreciate all of these insights. It's stuff that I should be
Thank
thinking
you.
about more.
Yeah, we'll be doing like teaching, and depending on the size of the group, maybe we'll do a breakout room. We can go a lot more in depth, and we'll have slides and all sorts of bonuses and exciting things. So I hope to see some of you folks there.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. Any projects that
Thank
any of
you.
you have that need copywriters, please reach out to Stephanie. And Stephanie, what are the other languages you writing? Because I know you're bilingual.
So actually, I'm currently only writing English, but I have written in Portuguese and Spanish in the past.
Fantastic. Yeah, that's really great to know.
And I also have done professional translations for attorneys and other folks who translate a couple books. So pretty much anything has to do with words in English, Portuguese, or Spanish. Those are the languages I'm most comfortable with. I also know a few others, but I don't consider myself a great writer like in Dutch or some, so Portuguese, English, Spanish.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And anybody
Thank you,
that's
everybody.
interested in reaching out, you can find us at increative.co to find out more. And then, of course, you can find us on LinkedIn. You're welcome to connect. And yeah, thank you. This session will be posted for members. And yeah, I think we're good. Thank you so much, everybody. Bye.
Have a great night. Bye.